Hey everybody, this is still day one here at the TLMI Annual Meeting 2022 down in Phoenix, Arizona. I am your esteemed podcast host and the man on the streets. John is what I was told. I'm the one bringing all the stuff. I did a little tour. I walked around all the booths and made some little videos, and it's been there's not a whole lot of people out there making podcasts and TikTok videos and things like that here in our industry. So it's me in the label industry is what it feels like. That's that, and I also have a full-time job, so it's keeps me busy for sure. Yeah. Well, that voice that you hear if you're watching or if you're listening is John Lyons. John is with Taghleef, and I'm excited to talk with him about what it is that Taghleef is doing and what it is that you do in your role when it comes to helping enable recycling to meet a lot of these guidelines. And so, John, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and having a conversation.
Yeah, pleasure to be here, Adam.
Nice. We both kind of had the same thing that we were talking about before we got on, like, okay, where are we meeting up and what are we doing? And so we've made it. We've made it here. So, John, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience and kind of talk about what it is you do and what was your background? How did you get into where you're at right now at Taghleef?
Sure. I'm John Lyons. I'm a senior product manager at Taghleef Industries on the labels side of our business. So we have flexible packaging, labels, graphic arts, and other technical applications. And I'm focused on the labels applications. My background is actually chemical engineering and business.
Naturally, that's how people get into labels, as they go become chemical engineers. Yeah, right. Did you dream like one day when I grow up, I'm going to be a chemical engineer who works in the label business?
That was the plan all along.
Yeah.
From when I was 17 years old, that was the dream.
Yeah.
But so my path to getting here, I've been with Taghleef for 6 years now. And the last 2-3 years on the label side of the business, before that in technical films. And prior to joining Taghleef, I was with the DuPont company in various roles, mostly in different polymers businesses. The most recent one being a bio-based polymer that was used for fibers in carpet and apparel. So it's interesting now as we get into sustainability with labels, sort of drawing on a lot of that experience with life cycle analysis and bio-based materials.
So that was like if I were to go buy a shirt and it says, made from X amount of recycled PET bottles, was that the kind of thing that you were working on then?
Kind of. It was not PET, but it was a different type of polyester.
Got it.
Yeah, but you would see hang tags and it would say something about being renewably resourced.
Yeah, that's what it was.
That was the term. Yeah.
Got it. And so what drew you from DuPont over to Taghleef? What was that like in your kind of your career transition? Because you're pivoting industries, right? And changing companies. And I got to imagine that was a fun transition.
Yeah, it was a bit of a transition and kind of moving downstream, like whereas we were in DuPont, a resin supplier, now it's moving downstream to somebody who's using those resins. I didn't have particular experience in the films industry, but what brought me in to Taghleef actually wasn't the labels segment. It was the decorative surfaces market. And I'd worked in some other programs and products that were sort of in the built environment. So in the case of that product called Syndicor, it was we would sell to printers who would print on our film for different laminated surfaces. So for cabinetry or shelves, ceiling panels, wall panels, and starting to get into flooring. So that was my path, and then segued into labels from there.
Got it. I'm envisioning you like on an actual Segway, just like just rolling right on into labels.
Yeah.
It's funny, I've done a whole bunch of these interviews now, probably I don't know, over 170 interviews for my podcast in the last 3-4 years. And it's really rare to find someone who is like, I knew I wanted to be in packaging. I knew I wanted to be in labels. It's, there's always like this different path that just sort of, they find themselves here. And then you kind of go, like, you kind of stick around, pun intended, right? You kind of stick around the label business and don't want to leave. So let's talk about Taghleef then for a second. So we're here there's a little bit of a trade show. I think that's coming up. I think it opens in 2 hours or something like that. There'll be people coming in here, and there's a booth and all sorts of stuff. Do you guys have a booth set up here?
We actually don't have a
okay.
tabletop here. This
got it. Yep. Got it. But you're here. You're meeting with some folks. And
yeah.
What are we going to be? What are we talking about with your potential customers?
Yeah, and for us to be here at TLMI, it's a good opportunity to network with a lot of our existing customers.
Right.
And have a chance to talk to them in a more sort of casual environment, get to spend some time with them, understand even better what's top of mind for them.
Yeah.
What kind of problems can we help solve for them?
Do you get a lot of I'm guessing it's there's kind of a proactive nature and sort of a reactive nature, because I'm thinking about it from a converter standpoint. It's like, we're taking in information from these vast array of customers, not just on pressure sensitive labels, but Taghleef obviously has a bunch of things that they can offer. Taking in all these data points, and you're like, can you make this? Because as a converter, you're kind of like, yeah, we'll convert it if someone can make it, So are you getting a lot of those requests these days when it comes to especially like sustainability initiatives with a lot of the regulations and legislation that's been passed?
Yeah. I mean, we definitely have customers coming to us with these, can you do this sort of thing? And often, innovation is certainly a big component of what we do.
Yep.
So we certainly want to take on those sort of challenges and understand where we potentially again help solve a problem for them. In the area of sustainability, I mean, a lot of it is around with brands trying to redesign their packaging so that it's meeting end of life goals, that it's recyclable. So we have ways that we can help with our films, with our label films, so that the package, whether it's a label on a PET container, an HDPE container, so that when it goes through the recycling system, that it makes it through and the container is recycled. And now even some of the labels are being recycled as well. So most of our films are polypropylene, BOPP. And those, they float basically. They're less dense than the water, so they're going to float. So for PET container recycling, the PET container will sink. The polypropylene labels will float, and you get a nice separation there.
Yeah.
And then it applies to other container types too, because if it's a container that's HDPE or PP, you can actually recycle the label material with the container material. One of the newer offerings that we have is a TD shrink sleeve film that is floatable. It's a polyolefin. And so everything we just talked about with recycling applies to those types of containers. And there's a big drive, with UX Plastics Pack has come out recently with a list of problematic and unnecessary packaging materials. And in the label space, using PETG and PVC, those are two of the materials that they're saying is not good for recycling.
Right.
Because those containers, if it's on those containers, it can't be recycled. So we see a lot more brand owners now looking for alternatives to those materials. So we have a nice offering for that.
Yeah. And so I've got two questions. So in the label recycling. So you have a excuse me, a BOPP label. It breaks away from the PET. It floats to the top.
Yep.
They collect the polypropylene, and you're saying that now that material is also being recycled.
Yeah, and in fact, when I first got into this part of the industry, and I was asking people, and probably the obvious question, well, what happens to the label stream? I get everybody's more focused on the container because that's a bigger mass
Right.
of material to be recycled. But and what I heard often was, oh, it's landfilled, it's not usable. But there are recyclers now that actually are going to the recyclers of the containers and sourcing that label stream, and they can incorporate that into other products, not so much that I'm aware of back into label film,
Right.
but it's still being diverted from a landfill, which is one of the first objectives.
I just did a sketch video on like phrases that we say in the packaging industry that if you didn't have context, you'd think it was weird. And so, one of them would be like, they're diverting PP from the waste stream and turning it into something useful. We'd be like, wait, what? Who is doing that? And why are they?
Insider to understand.
Yeah. Like you and I, we get it's polypropylene. We know what we're talking about.
Anything else,
No, obviously we were not.
The public probably would think you're talking about
something totally different. Yeah. That's and then on the shrink sleeves. So you've got a material now. You're saying that it gets shrunk down, it goes on a container, and when that bottle goes to be recycled, I know that there were always some problems with like the optical scanners or whatever it is to identify what the material was. But how does the shrink sleeve get disconnected from the bottle to go through recycle? Like I get the label, right? It's adhesive that breaks off, it floats. Okay, hooray.
Yeah.
Like how does the shrink sleeve break away?
Yeah. I think you're touching on the sorting issue, because the shrink sleeve can cover so much of the container that there is a potential to interfere with the sorting. So, obviously you want the PET bottles to go in the right stream and the HDPE bottles to go in the right stream. So that is something that in the label and overall package design, you have to be careful of. And probably best case is to test. Correct. To make sure that it is going to sort properly, because that's kind of the first step into getting it recycled. After that, it's kind of, a mechanical process, and, it's going to go into all the material together, label and container material, the sleeve material. Container material will go into a sink float tank. And if it's a PET, the PET container material will sink, and in our case, it's a polyolefin sleeve. So using retentive inks so that it stays with the label and doesn't get into either the wash water or contaminate the PET container flake. So you've got that, the sink float separation. Sometimes there's elutriation that happens on that light stream, but then you can.
Would you say
elutriation?
No, I went to public school,
for some of the lighter ends.
Got it.
Yeah.
But this is after, like, I think that some people, by some people I mean me, like I envision a bottle going in and it's like, okay, it's a full bottle, and then the shrink sleeve magically comes off the bottle. But are you talking about does it get like chopped up first and then go into the
Okay. Essentially it's getting chopped up. There are, though, some recyclers do have delabeling equipment to actually remove the label
before.
Now, to be honest, I don't know how prevalent that is, if it's a very small percentage that have that, but I'm aware that technology is out there as well.
Got it. And Taghleef, do you primarily work with converters, or do you also interact with brands who are like, hey, we're not going to buy directly from you, but we're really glad to know that this material exists, and we're going to talk to our label converter about it?
Yeah, we absolutely do also talk to brand owners, and we try to reach them through different presentations at different organizations. Some we have sort of an ongoing relationship with and interact with directly quite a bit, but yeah, we're definitely want to work with the brand owners. And actually a lot of the programs that we've had around using bio-based materials or chemically recycled resins, probably almost exclusively those have been specific end user programs.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's the brand owner who really has the program and comes to us to help them execute.
Got it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I just got 2 more questions for you, John. I really appreciate the time and coming over here and having a conversation. So my first question is, what gets you excited about being in the label side of the business? And when you kind of look at the future, like, man, I can't wait for us to solve that, or I'm really pumped to be working on this kind of solution. I mean, don't unveil any trade secrets, but
Sure, yeah.
What gets you really, really pumped to get out of bed and go to work on a Monday morning?
Yeah. I mean, sustainability, certainly being a driving force for change in the industry, is something that's really exciting. And so that's, a lot of our focus is on that. That seems to be what a lot of our customers need from us, other than the, the supply chain issues we've been dealing with.
The day-to-day stuff.
I don't know that I call those exciting, but that was certainly,
it's Can I get my stuff is a very real question.
It's very important for our customers. And, I feel like that's one of the strengths of Taghleef Industries. And I think our strategy of having sort of redundancy where we can produce products in more than one plant, that we're not always dependent on one plant and one location for a particular product. We've done a lot of importing between regions just to help keep everyone supplied. It's not always the most efficient, you've got long lead times and all those things, but at the end of the day, we were able to keep film flowing to our customers. So we were well positioned when everything went crazy with supply chains to, not that we didn't have challenges and aren't still having challenges, but
sure,
able to keep our customers supplied.
Yeah, I've always said it's not the supplier or vendor or partner, whatever you want to say, who can mess up the least amount of times. It's typically who's going to be the best. It's typically the one who, when something goes down or when there's a struggle, is invested and will jump in with you and say, yeah, let's figure this out together. What about this? And have you thought about that? And we could also do this thing. And it's shocking to me how many people don't do that. It's just like the answer is no. I mean, I had a company call me the other day and they said, we're being told that our labels might take between, it was like 8 weeks and 6 months, or they can't give us a date. And I'm like, and there's no other conversation. They were like, nope. I'm like, geez, that's pretty wild.
You hear a lot of those stories
yep,
in the last couple of years.
It's happened for sure.
But hey, we're here to help people solve their problems.
I love it. Well, John, my last question is really easy. How do people get in touch with you? And if they want to learn more about what you're doing at Taghleef, what's the best way for them to go find some information?
Well, certainly can go to our website as a great source of information on all of our products. So we have a lot of useful information there, and videos is a great way to reach out. You can always call the 800 number, or you can reach out to me directly.
Got it. And would they find you on LinkedIn? Is that the best way to connect up with you, or what would be the best way?
I am on LinkedIn, or john.lyons@ti-films.com is my email address.
Got it. Very good. Well, John, I've really appreciated having you on the show here. Thanks for taking a little bit of time at the annual meeting. And it's been awesome to get to know people like yourself and see the industry come together and kind of collectively solve some of these problems that we were talking about. So thanks for sharing a little bit of what you're doing at Taghleef. It's been great.
Yeah. Thank you, Adam. I enjoyed it.